Dealings podcast. It's a podcast about selling sports cards, and today it's about selling cards on eBay, which was part of the discussion a couple of weeks ago when I came on and I said, hey, if you want to maximize the value of your sports cards, here's what you're going to have to consider and here's what you're going to have to do. One of the platforms that I told you that you could potentially use is eBay, which sometimes draws a negative connotation due to its affectionate nickname of FeeBay. The fees are higher than pretty much any other platform you're going to use, but there is a good reason for that. It's also larger than any other platform you are going to use that has a specific online marketplace built into it. Yes, I'm sure there's probably more users on some specific social media platforms where people do sell cards, but those platforms are not necessarily designed for selling e-commerce, even if it is they have a subsection of their app or website devoted to it. eBay inherently is an online marketplace. It's not a social media site. It's not a blog. It is an online marketplace that's existed for several decades now. And it's the largest sports card singles marketplace. It's not specifically designed for sports cards, but boy, are there a lot of cards sold on there. And if you want proof of that, go look up some cards right now that you're looking at buying. I'm sure if you're going and checking what the recent sales data is on them, I'm going to be willing to bet that the vast majority are coming from eBay. And with that said, you could say, well, doesn't that make every card a good card for eBay? Potentially, yes. There are probably, more likely than not, very few cards that are more likely to sell off of eBay than they are on eBay, and that's something that we could discuss a different time. But yes, eBay inherently is your best chance to sell most cards. But there are specific cards where you can maximize your value on eBay compared to the alternatives that you have for selling them, and that is what the purpose of this is here, because that's what we mean when we say an eBay card. It's something that not only is your likelihood high of selling it on there compared to anywhere else, it's abnormally high, significantly higher, and also you may get more for that card than you could have possibly imagined in any other setting. What are the strengths of eBay? Why is it such an appealing marketplace for people? I already said it's the largest marketplace for sports card singles, period, paragraph. It also has a worldwide reach, meaning that you're going to be able to reach more eyeballs on your card than anywhere else. And this reach, being global, is going to allow you to tap into markets that you otherwise probably couldn't due to limitations in certain countries with various social media platforms, or just the hassle of having to deal with international shipping. It has gotten easier as time has gone on. I remember, my dad shipping out some things several decades ago overseas, and it was a pain. Not necessarily sports card items, it was different kind of collectibles, but in recent times, I have found that it's much easier to send something out overseas than it was previously. And eBay makes it incredibly easy for sellers. I don't get paid by eBay to say any of this. I have no affiliation with them other than my own eBay store, so I'm not here to shill for them. But I will say that the global shipping program is pretty sweet. I pay about $5 for a standard card to send it to the Global Shipping Center, International Shipping Center, I forget exactly what it's called, in the Chicago area, and they handle the rest for me. Now, I have heard on the back end from some of the buyers that the rates that they are charged by eBay once I ship it out are a little pricey. I can't vet that myself because I don't receive cards via the Global Shipping program. I can only take what people tell me. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't think that they would lie about that. But also I don't know what their definition of astronomical may be, or a steep rate. That's all very subjective, right? But it's still very seller friendly. For me as a seller, that's what I'm focused on here. It is very seller friendly for me to ship something outside of the United States. Global reach, easy worldwide shipping, largest online platform. What more could you really ask for? Again, it makes it seem like all cards are good eBay cards, but I'm going to tell you when they may not necessarily be good eBay cards here in a minute. What I would say is another strength of eBay is that you have the ability to find something that is very specific much easier. There are a lot of niche buyers that will only be able to track down cards that they are targeting by using eBay in all reality. I'll give you an example. I'm one of them because I am a Blue Ice set builder. I'm working on my 2020 Prism Blue Ice set. Realistically, there are a lot of cards that I have purchased via eBay that I would not have been able to purchase if I had to rely strictly on finding them at a show. Why is that? Because a lot of these cards would be in value boxes, and I do not have time at any given show to get through every single value box. I just don't. I'm not going to be able to find them, and there might be one that's in a value box that I need, but that's not going to do me much good if that value box is in Atlanta, Georgia, and I live in the Cincinnati area. Not going to be able to get there. But if I'm able to access what is essentially an online value box that is filtered for me on eBay 24/7, 365, well, now all of a sudden my likelihood of being able to find that card for my set has gone up drastically. And that's why you see a lot of people with these massive stores that have tens of thousands of cards up, because a lot of those low-end cards do incredibly well on eBay. The standard envelope, for all of its flaws, has really helped change the game in a lot of sense. I mean, at least there is some tracking, as unreliable as it may be at times. There is some form of tracking on PWEs where people don't have to pay $5-6 a piece to ship out a card that is not even worth the cost of shipping. It's a game changer, and it's great for set builders. It's great for people who are just looking for maybe lower end cool cards for $5, $10, $15 of their favorite player. You can get some awesome 90s and 2000s refractors on eBay. You can get some Hall of Fame vintage players on eBay, playing days cards. You can get some obscure autograph cards of maybe a fan favorite player. All these for probably under $10 shipped to your door. It's remarkable. And you could find those things at shows, but you're able to filter through things. eBay has different categories and subcategories. Sports card themselves is a category, but you're able to filter by team. You're able to filter by manufacturer. You're able to filter by the season of when the card was released. Now, again, that information is only as reliable as the seller putting in the data, or the tool the seller is using to put in the data if they're using a Card Dealer Pro. Meaning that, yeah, there's going to be inaccuracies, or if the seller just doesn't bother to fill that out, well, then you're kind of SOL in that sense. But they do have a search feature that I would say is easy. And actually on my notes, I have that in quotations because eBay in recent years has changed their search feature where it represents somewhat of a For You page, or you might also like page. You'll get the results of what you're looking for, but they're going to be mixed in with similar items that eBay is kind of suggesting to you as an alternative or potentially an add-on to your purchase. I'm not a huge fan of it because usually when I'm looking for something on eBay, I'm looking for something very specific. I know exactly what I want. I don't need any suggestions on it. So there's ways that you can potentially maneuver around it just using different ways to search cards. Won't get into that here. That's more of a how to use a search engine video than it is a what makes an eBay card video. But the ability to filter things on eBay is pretty darn good. You might be able to argue that maybe a different website has a better filtration system, but the library and catalog of cards on those websites just pales in comparison again to what eBay is offering. So all things considered, it's the best all-around marketplace. And I don't get paid to say that. That is genuinely my opinion about eBay. Now, where do you sell cards on eBay that will get you the most bang for your buck? Well, I already mentioned one of them. It's that lower end stuff that people can't dig out of value boxes themselves. I mean, think about it too. If shows are only taking place on a weekend. We'll say it's a standard month and there is 4 weekends. That means realistically, we'll say a 30-day month, 22 of those days are already off the table. There's no shows going on. Maybe there's a large regional show, but you have to work on Friday, so that is now out. Which means now you have 8 days a month to find these cards. And when you go to the show's open anywhere from 7 to 10 hours, depending on the size of the show. Maybe if it's a really small one, it's only 5 hours. And there's a bunch of value boxes there. There's no way you're going to get through all of them. There's no way that you're probably even going to get through half of them. You're going to have to pick and choose your spots and kind of look. And maybe there's a box that looks like there's just nothing in there for you. You are taking a look at a couple stacks and you're like, I am out of here. There's nothing in here. But there is that one card you were looking for that if you would have just kept going, you would have stumbled across it, but you'll never know that. That is the key to eBay, is that those cards then pop up on the platform. And you might say, well, it shows people will dig through boxes and they'll see what they have, and they might have an impulse purchase and pick up something that they normally wouldn't look for. Absolutely true. But some of the best sellers that use the standard envelope will offer incentives for people to continue shopping. When I was a standard envelope seller, one of my promotions was, hey, if you get your total card value before tax and shipping to $20, shipping is free. I'm going to cover the shipping. So people would go through and they would add up enough cards to barely break over that $20 mark, meaning they're buying things that they probably normally wouldn't be looking for, but they wouldn't have had an incentive to look if I had not offered that free shipping, or perhaps they waited to stack a few cards together and then pick up a few odds and ends to get to that order total. And a lot of sellers will offer promotions like that. It can be a discounted shipping threshold. It can be a buy X, get Y type of promotion. There's a lot of different tools, and eBay sometimes will even offer you suggestions on how to utilize those promotions to increase your ability to move through your cards. There is, at least there was a few years ago, you could basically tell eBay, hey, this is my objective of what I want to accomplish, which could be, I want to just increase sales. I want to increase the number of cards I sell per transaction. I want to clear out stale inventory, so things that have been sitting for a year, 2 years, however long it may have been. And they can help give you suggestions, or at least they did back then, of how to specifically launch a promotion to help you achieve your goals. And I got to say that the suggestions, they're pretty good. You're going to have to probably tweak them a little bit yourself to fit what you're looking to get out of it. You're going to have to be cognizant of what the fees are and what your margins are to make sure that you're not cheating yourself out of something. But it's a good template at the very least. Low-end cards, stuff that can be shipped out standard envelope that people would love to dig out of a value box that they otherwise can't because of time restraints, those are great cards to sell on there. Maybe you're not someone who sells standard envelope, though. Okay, that's great. You're someone who's living maybe in the $20 to $100 range. Same principle kind of applies, is that there are a lot of cards out there in that $20 to $100 range that are very realistic for people to walk into a show and buy themselves. I've looked at some data, various data points from various different settings, and the average person walking into a card show or a card shop typically has a couple $100 that they can spend, unless they are specifically going there for something that they know is going to cost more than that. And usually they're saving up or they're planning ahead for that. But the vast majority of people, they are ready to spend maybe $200 to $300 at most. What do they actually spend? It's probably closer to $100 to $150. Meaning that if you have something really cool in the $20 to $100 range, that is not going to make or break the bank for that customer walking around trying to find cool cards. That is a very realistic price point, and it's not something that is going to deplete their resources where they no longer can shop at the show, right? Or they're going to be stuck just digging into the dime boxes trying to get a couple of cards with their last few singles left in their wallet. That's not the case. Well, the same thing may apply to eBay as well. If you think about it, when someone gets gifted an eBay gift card, what is that gift card amount? I would say most of the time it's $10, $25, $50, or $100. I think those are kind of the templates that they give. I'm sure that they make ones where you can give a custom amount, but that is typically, if you're going to give someone an eBay gift card, those are the amounts that you're going to use. So if you have cards in those range, essentially they're just getting a free card based on their gift card. Well, that sounds pretty good to me. And if you can find something cool in that range where there is nothing else already listed that's like it, well, you might find yourself making a sale fairly quickly, and you're probably not going to get beat down too much on it. I'll give you an example of a couple of cards like that. I have been trying to build my blue ice set, and I have been looking specifically for a Mitch Trubisky blue ice. And this is starting to become a part of the channel lore, is that I'm looking for this darn Mitch Trubisky card. There is 2 of them listed, and both of them are over $100. I am not paying $100 for this card. But if I got a $25 gift card and someone posted that card up for $20, I'm snap buying it. No questions asked. I'm not going to try to barter. Even if I really think it's a $5 card on a good day, I'm not going to waste my time. I want it that badly. I need it for my set. I'm just going to hit the button. Even if it was something that I didn't necessarily have to have, like if there was an Amon-Ra St. Brown card, I'm like, oh, that's just really neat. I want to get this card. And I see it on there, it's $25. I have a gift card. I'm not going to hassle. I'm not going to barter. I'm not going to take the opportunity that someone else clicks to buy it now. I'm just going to go ahead and click to buy it now, especially if there are no other copies of the card available for sale. That's just plain and simple. If you have someone who's looking for that specific card out there and you're the only game in town, as long as you're priced reasonably, chances are they're going to try to make a move on it. Now, I don't know if that means you're going to be guaranteed to make a deal. Of course, there's going to be some people who get a little stingy one way or another. But I have found a lot of times that I've posted up cards that I thought, this thing is going to be a brick, it's going to take forever to sell, and there was someone looking for it. They bought it for pretty much full ask, sometimes at full ask, within a day of posting the card. And it surprises me. I'll have really cool stuff that will just sit and be stagnant, not even get an offer forever. And then you have some obscure player that sells. And it never ceases to amaze me. So that stuff in the $20 to $100 range, it may not be as much impulse purchase as, say, something that could be shipped standard envelope, but it's also not something that is going to put someone over their budget. The average collector can swing a card in that range. Then we start to move into your mid-tier stuff. This is the stuff that, again, if that average collector was at a show, this is the one that would probably drain their budget. That's the $100 to $249.99. So the stuff that barely falls below the authenticity guarantee threshold. What is it that we're looking for in here that could possibly make for a good eBay card? It's the same line of thinking. It's the cards that maybe don't pop up too often, but you're looking mostly at, I would say, the rarer parallels. Things that maybe don't sell all that often. Things that might only pop up for sale once a year, if at all. And a lot of times it's your really good blue chip parallels. So for flagship baseball, maybe an old Topps Gold that's a first or second year card. Usually those aren't going to be that pricey where they're going to get into the triple digits. But a Topps Black would, a 2018 Topps Independence Day would, a 2011 Topps Hope Diamond would. Ironically enough, all cards that I very much like myself. But those types of cards, usually what the previous sales on them are, don't matter as much because they are very desirable. There's people who have saved searches, meaning that they're getting a notification as soon as you list yours, assuming that you don't list it like a complete idiot. You at least have words spelled correctly and you have the proper terms put into the title or the description, ideally both, of the listing. they're going to get notified and they're going to be on it right away. As soon as they can, and if they need that card, they're going to be sending you an offer, or they're just clicking to buy it now and you're ready to ship it out to them. So there's a lot of good stuff like that. You can also maybe find a little bit of arbitrage in serial numbers. I did a segment on this for the Ball Card Show on their Out of the Box segment a few weeks back, where I talk about looking for specific serial numbers on cards. Maybe it's a jersey match of something. Maybe it's a bookend, or it's a milestone number like the Ohtani 50 of 50 thing, which also happens to be a bookend. But you get my point. Those are instances where maybe what the card is previously sold for matters, of course, but it might matter a little bit less just because of that specific serial number, because there's people out there who collect that way. There are people who I knew who collected Miguel Cabrera cards, specifically serial numbered 24 out of whatever. And they usually wanted the cards a lot more than I wanted to. I could probably count on one hand how many I had that were jersey match cards, because it wasn't as important to me. I thought it was cool, but I wasn't going to go out of my way to specifically get that when I knew that there were several other people who were, and they were willing to pay more than me. And as far as I'm concerned, they can have it at that point, because that doesn't matter as much to me. But there's also people who like collecting the bookends, or perhaps there's something about a specific number that means something to them. Now, you can't just go out there and be like, oh, here's a card that's 6-7 out of 99. Oh, hey, it's the 6-7 meme. This will go for much more. Like, maybe. Once in a blue moon, maybe there's someone who's thinking the same way as you. But it's more so the generally practiced ones, and it's not always guaranteed. You could find a Shohei Ohtani card that is jersey numbered. It's 17 of 99, and you still might not get offers that are a premium compared to what other copies of the card have sold for. That's just the way it goes. Maybe the person who cares about the jersey number doesn't care about your specific card. So it's not a guarantee, but it is something to keep in mind. I will say that you're usually more likely to find those types of people the more popular a player is, because there is a greater chance that you will find a collector of that player. If there's more collectors of a player, there's more of a chance that they will act in a certain way towards that player, whether it could be collecting the color match of a specific player's team, or they're collecting a certain serial number. All things to take into consideration. All right, let's move into the big boys now. These are your authenticity guarantee cards. What makes a good card to go on eBay that would meet the $250 threshold to be sent off to authenticity guarantee? And this is where people really start to sweat the fees, because they are percentage based. And a lot of times, unless you're getting up there into the thousands, this is where you're going to see the biggest chunk of your earnings taken out because of the fees, and why a lot of people try to avoid using eBay, because all of a sudden a card that you sold for $750 after shipping and all that, you're really only netting about $640. So $100 is going into the pocket of eBay. Now, they are providing you a service. They are providing you their platform to sell your card on. There's millions of eyeballs looking at your card. So they are giving you something out of all this, which is the space to do it. But they are taking a pretty decent sized cut, especially in an industry where margin is not exactly plentiful. Go look at some other collectible spaces and see what the margin looks like in those spaces, and it will make you wonder how anybody ever makes a living in sports cards, because it is just fascinating to look and see how I guess the word would be acceptable it is to work on such thin margins in this game, which you can do, but you need to be selling these cards that are authenticity guarantee level, and you need to be selling several of them every single day in order to make that work. But generally speaking, what types of cards do well here? It's, again, the stuff that doesn't pop up too often. And that's kind of going to be your recurring theme here. And also the things where there is less urgency to sell them. The cards that move hands often are going to be a little bit tougher, because there's always this idea that there could be another one out there. I'll go back to my Blue Ice set. The Justin Herbert Blue Ice which is his rookie year, goes for a price that I am just not willing to pay. Flat out. In fact, most of the rookie quarterbacks, it's been that way. The only one of the major 5 in that class that I have purchased to this point is Tua, because, well, his market has tanked. Let's just put it out there. His market is down significantly, where I was able to pick up a copy of the card in a grade that is friendly to my wallet, which was a PSA 9, and at a price that is also not astronomical. Justin Herbert, I can't say the same for, but I also don't have too much urgency. If one goes up at auction and it's just not generating the number that I want, or it's starting to get bid up by a few people who really want it, I don't feel like I necessarily have to have that card, because I know that another one will pop up eventually. And in fact, with a lot of the ultra modern quarterbacks, I have a feeling that I'm not going to have to wait too long, and I will probably be able to find one somewhere, somehow, because there's people who will have them in their inventory where it is just that, a card in their inventory. They are looking to sell it. Now, if it was something that was more along the lines of a Calvin Johnson old school Topps Chrome Refractor, don't get me wrong, there's cards like that in the inventories of people, but there's also a lot more collectors who are holding on to those cards, or they're putting them up on eBay more as a show and tell than they are looking to actually sell them. There's probably a few sellers that will come to your mind when I say that, where they have a bunch of really nice stuff, but it's all at crazy prices. There's a guy who has some really nice Calvin Johnsons up on eBay right now, and I just couldn't fathom paying what he's asking for them, but he doesn't have to sell them to me for what I would want them for. They're his cards. He can ask whatever he wants for them. But if there is no other ones available, then I'm really left with no choice, where if I really want it, I'm going to have to try to buy his. Now, for example, I'll give you a card that I was looking at. It's the 2015 Prism White Sparkle, first year of White Sparkles, and let's say it's a PSA 10. I also have a PSA 10. Well, even if I put mine up for half of the asking price of his, regardless if that's double what the last one had sold for, you might be shocked at how many offers you get on that card that are well above whatever that last sale is, because it's something that doesn't pop up that often, and it's something that if you really want it and all of a sudden there is a new one that pops up, well, you have new life. Like if there was a Mitch Trubisky Blue Ice that pops up today and the buy it now is only $50 your best offer, I am already feeling incredibly optimistic about it, because, well, the other two are just, they're not willing to come down from over $100, and I am not willing to pay that. But now I have someone new in the game. I might even give them $25-$30 for that card. Is it probably a $2 card? Sure thing. But I'm getting tired of looking for it for my set. I want it that badly, and I'm willing to pay up for it. And I'm not the only one who's like that out there. There's people who have looked for cards for years and years and years, and you happen to find it out at a show or in a collection that you bought, and you put it up, and you've done them a solid in their eyes, because you put something up for sale in a place where they can see it, and it's something that they will really cherish. And there's a lot of cards that are like that in that higher threshold. If you look at, just go on Card Ladder. I've been noticing this a lot recently, and it's something that I have been challenging myself to do, is I will see cards and I'll notice that the most recent sale on it is higher than what it had previously sold for. And a lot of people will go, oh, well, it was shielded. Oh, yeah, that's not a real one. Well, I can tell you from experience that sometimes that is actually the case. That, yeah, it is shielded. I have gone and tried to bid on some cards for myself, and then they are relisted for auction again the next week. And I'm like, well, what was the point in that? But I've also had it where I've sold cards where they went for well above what the previous sale was. And I can tell you that those people paid for those cards, and they received them. They left me feedback. There was no shenanigans going on there. So it does happen. And being able to detect market trends will be key in that. If there's a card that had sold, let's just say it had sold in June of 2025, and it's April of 2026 now. You're looking at it, there's none available for sale on eBay, or you can undercut the lowest priced one by $500, and you think that there's someone who might be interested in that price, it's not a bad idea to take a shot. Are you going to lose 13%, 15%, 17% fees? Yes, you are going to lose that. But if it's a card that you have 40% margin on and you're going to pay that fee, and you're still coming away with a 25 to 30% margin, you're still doing pretty good. It's a heck of a lot better than if you're buying a base optic rated rookie PSA 10, and then that percentage is maybe a couple of points because the market doesn't change as much on that. There's a lot of them available, so you have to price yours competitively, or just hope that yours is the one that's chosen magically by the buyer shopping for it that day. That is something that you can use to your advantage. Is it guaranteed to work? Absolutely not. No, I have done this before and I have been dead wrong about a card, something that I thought would be very interesting. That is where shows can be more beneficial to you, is that if someone sees something, it might not be something that they were necessarily looking for on eBay, but if it's right in front of them in a showcase, then that might change their mind on it. And with eBay, it's not quite as easy with that. But those types of impulse buys, that's going to happen on the lower tier ones. That's the value box cards I was telling you about, or that 20 to 100 stuff. There's not a whole lot of impulse buys going on for $500. I'm sure there's some ballers out there who are doing that, but the average person is not doing that. They're going to be $100 or less impulse buys. Cards that are $500, $1,000, $2,500, those are going to be more thought out purchases for people, and a lot of times going through eBay is how they are going to get that done. So those types of cards, yes, you might have someone who catches a wild hair at a show, but it's unlikely just based on the clientele that you're usually dealing with at a lot of shows. Maybe that changes depending on the size of the show, right? If you're going to a large show like most people listening to this are not setting up at the National or Fanatics Fest, but I'm not talking like a show like that where people save up their money for it. Even like a Dallas show, a Nashville show, a Culture Collision, a Philly show, the West Coast Card Show, you name your favorite regional show that there are people who still save up money for it. It's one that they kind of circle on their calendar, and you're still in the same spot where you might be able to find someone there. But those shows, they only come around a few times a year, especially if you're not willing to travel, meaning your chances of selling them are limited to just a few days a year, where eBay, you have it for every single day of the year to find that right person. So an eBay card really can be any card. You can sell any card that you want to on eBay, but finding the stuff that doesn't pop up too often, being able to price it competitively against what is already there, finding cards of good players or finding good cards of players that you think will sell. Those are two different things. Sometimes they can be the same, but really they're two different things. Those are your keys to success if you're looking to find good eBay cards and find cards that you can sell on eBay where the fees, like, would you prefer not to pay them? Sure, but they become more of a cost of doing business than they do a make or break point for your business. I hope this was helpful. It's a little insight into how I approach cards that don't pop up for sale all that often, and how I have found some success selling on eBay over the years. But I would love to hear your feedbacks in the comments down below. Much appreciated you spending your time with me. I'll be back next week with some more show content and a new podcast episode. But until then, take care, stay safe, be kind.